Intro Dutch National, the Dutch Nationals have always meant something special to me. I still remember the first time I entered, nervous, wide-eyed, and carrying a team that was more heart than refinement. Against all odds, I won. And not just a trophy, but the pride of being the champion of my own country. That moment never left me. So when Nationals came around again this year, I knew I couldn't treat it like just another tournament. This wasn't a regional. It wasn't an online ladder grind. It was a chance to defend something that felt tied to my identity. I'm Dutch. I'd won this before. Now, I had to prove it wasn't a fluke. The journey started even before the venue. I remember leaving home early in the morning. The streets of Amsterdam just waking up, the canals glowing in the sunrise. My backpack was heavy, not just with my switch and notebook, but with the weight of expectation. I kept thinking, I've done this before. I can do it again. When I arrived at the venue, it hit me all at once. The line of players waiting to check in, the nervous chatter of last-minute practice games, the sound of switches clicking, it was electric. Friends I battled online suddenly stood in front of me in person, and every handshake carried that unspoken message. Today we're rivals. I grabbed a seat near the back, opened my notebook, and went over the team one last time. I knew it was unusual. A Parish trap core, a Flamengo co-star strategy no one would expect, a Dondoso mode I could pivot into if needed. It wasn't standard. But Nationals are never won by standard. They're won by having a plan that nobody else prepared for. And in that moment, it all came together. I wasn't just here to play. I was here to defend the crown. The crowd didn't know it yet, but they were about to see one of the strangest, most creative teams in the room carve its way through the field. Rewind origin of the six, and before the badges, the lights, and the anthem, rewind. This team didn't fall out of the sky. It was stitched together from a dozen bad ideas, 2 great ones, and a lot of late-night showdown. Here's how the six found each other. Before I could think about Dutch Nationals, I had to build something I trusted. The last event I won was with Wheezing Slaking, a hilarious, explosive, gimmicky offense. It worked, but it wasn't me. I don't want coin flip volatility. I want to make the battlefield smaller and the clock louder. I wanted guaranteed wins, or as close as VGC gets to them. I wanted Parish Trap. Classic Parish teams run 1 or 2 singers and a shadow tag user. In the old days, there was one Pokemon that did both, Mega Gengar. The best Parishmon ever because it locked you in and started the song by itself. Later, formats blessed us with Fluttermane and Screamtail. One hyper-offensive and absurdly fast. The other bulky but still quick, both with deep utility and booster energy to outspeed the universe. Parish should be easy with tools like that. Except in Regulation H. 2025, they're all gone. So I stared at the legal decks and found the first brick, regular Gengar. It doesn't have Mega's ability and it's fragile, but it is the fastest legal Parish song user, and 110 speed is actually fast again in this meta. With Focus Sash, it gets to act. With Shadow Ball, it threatens Goldingo, so Parish isn't just a bluff. That was my singer. Slot 1 locked. Slot 2 was simple. Gothitelle. It's the only Shadow Tag user in Scarlet and Violet, and, crucially, it's actually good. Real bulk, the right utility, and the threat that your options might quietly go to 0. Parish Song plus Shadow Tag is a classic lock. I had the skeleton. Support wins Parish games, not just songs, so I went hunting for glue. I didn't want to be all in on some fragile countdown. I wanted a platform that buys turns and punishes greed. That led me to Dondoso, not as a commander sweeper, but as a wall with Yawn. In normal play, Yawn asks nicely for you to switch. With Shadow Tag on the table, Yawn becomes a warning siren. Stay and sleep, switch, and you can't or waste turns protecting. Suddenly, Gothitelle lives, and the Parish counter ticks without drama. 3 pieces, 1 idea. The 4th slot. I tried everything. Sinistcha for Rage Powder and healing. Electabuzz for bulky redirection and utility. Kingambit to bully Goldingo. Even Hippowdon with Sand Tomb to pair with Yawn. They all had moments, but none of them made Parish easier play. Too many sequences still slipped through the cracks. Parting Shot escaping Shadow Tag. Spore Fog in my timing or raw offense blowing past my setup. And then I stopped being cute and added the king. Incineroar. It fakes, it pivots, it deletes items, it shrinks damage, it ignores Spore with safety goggles. The first time I clicked Fake Out plus Perish, and then parting shot to glide into a safe board, I felt the team breathe. The Perish core, Jengar, Gothitelle, Dondoso, Incineroar, was finally real. But Perish alone isn't enough. Some teams don't mind the song. Some ghost cores and fast stacks just push through. I needed a second mode. I already had Dondoso, so adding Tatsujiri was obvious. But Commander comes with handcuffs. When it activates, Tatsujiri can't act, and you're effectively in a 2v1. Your one is boosted, sure, but you can't reposition that slot. Unless, what if Tatsujiri could leave mid-commander? Perish Song answered that question. If Tatsu hears the song before it dives, it can feint safely while inside, opening a free switch next to a fully boosted Dondoso. Which begged a better question. Who do I want materializing in that empty seat? Flamigo. Co-Star copies all of Dondoso's boosted stats. If I choreograph it, Perish, Trap, Commander, Protect, Tatsu drops. Flamigo lands on the field as a second Dondoso in spirit, wielding Brave Bird in close combat instead of Wave Crash and Order Up. 2 monsters at once, 1 clogged exit, and a song still playing somewhere in the background. That was the missing hammer. With those 6, the team stopped being a sketch and started being a machine. Perish lockdown. Jengar starts to count. Gothitelle locks the doors. Incineroar manages tempo. Dondoso soaks and yawns to force the math. Co-Star Flamigo. Perish plus Whirlpool to script the Tatsu Co. Commander for safety. Flamigo arrives juiced and the board collapses under 2 boosted attackers. Classic Dozo. When Speed Wars get silly, Gothitelle flips to Trick Room. Slow Fake Out parting shot take over, and Dondoso wins attrition instead of tempo. I took it on the latter half expecting the usual. Sounds brilliant. Feels clunky. Instead, it felt clean. The modes weren't separate teams. They were lanes I could switch between mid-set. Some details still needed sanding, move slots, a Terra here, an EV there, but the 6 were right, especially Jengar. The little ghost turned out to be the metronome I needed. By the time Utrecht started to creep onto my calendar, I wasn't asking whether Perish was viable. I was asking how to tell time properly. When to sing, when to stall, when to feed Tatsu to the plan, and when to let Flamigo fly. And somewhere in that last week, Echo messaged me. Perish in 2025? Bold. I stared at the screen, smiled, and typed back. Not bold. Measured. See you in finals. The team breakdown Jengar stories are cute. Sets win tournaments. Let's slow down and walk the roster slot by slot. What each Mon does, why the move goes here and not there, and exactly what every EV is buying me. So, let's start with what became the heart of my team. Jengar. And honestly, I didn't realize at first that it was going to be the most important piece. Let me take you through the process slowly, because this Pokemon had the most iterations of anything on the squad. At first, I was obsessed with trying to recreate Screamtail. In Regulation H, it was the best Perish Song user. Booster energy for speed, great bulk, encore, disable, just a nightmare for opponents. But the problem was obvious. Screamtail isn't legal here. So I thought, what's the closest thing I can get? And that led me to Jengar. I tried to make Jengar into a pseudo-Screamtail. I gave it Encore, Disable, Protect, and Perish Song. I even ran max speed and heavy HP investment with Focus Sash, because I thought, okay, maybe this can live long enough to disrupt. But here's the thing, it just didn't do damage. And when Jengar isn't threatening damage, opponents learn they can just ignore it. And that's the death of a Perish Song strategy. So I pivoted. If I was going to dedicate a slot to Jengar, it had to actually scare things. That meant locking in a damage move. The choice came down to Sludge Bomb versus Shadow Ball. Sludge Bomb is good into fairies, sure, but Shadow Ball hits the real counter to Perish. Goldengo. It also pressures Arcaludon and other ghosts. And in testing, Shadow Ball was just far more relevant. With that decided, I had 3 moves locked in: Perish Song, Protect, and Shadow Ball. The last slot was tricky. I tested Encore, still decent, but situational in the Flamigo mode. I tested Disable, fun synergy with Cursed Body, but inconsistent. And then I found the key, Taunt. Taunt changed everything. Suddenly, Primarina and Dragonite couldn't just haze my setup away. Amoonguss stopped being a nightmare with Spore and Rage Powder. Even Incineroar, normally able to pivot out a Shadow Tag with Parting Shot, had no escape. Either it wasted its Terra on Ghost, or it fainted to the song. This was the breakthrough that made the set real. The next question was Terra type. My first instinct was Terra Normal, to dodge Ghost moves, but it barely came up. Then I tried Terra Ghost for stronger Shadow Balls, but the problem was that Gholdengo always Terras anyway, so the boost didn't matter. Eventually, I landed on Terra Dark, and it was perfect. 3 reasons. It makes you immune to Prankster, so Murkrow and Whimsicott can't taunt you first. It covers Psychic matchups, especially into NDD plus Sneasler. And it complements Ghost Poison defensively in a way that felt reliable. Finally, the EVs. Max Special Attack was mandatory. Forcing Gholdengo to respect Shadow Ball is the entire point. Max Speed Timid keeps you in that crucial 110 tier, letting you taunt before almost anything that matters. And Focus Sash is the true bulk. It guarantees you get at least 1 Perish Cycle. After all this testing, what started as a discount Screamtail turned into something far more valuable. A Gengar that not only sets the song, but also silences every exit strategy. And that's why I call Gengar the metronome of this team. It doesn't just start the music. It decides when the battle ends. Gothitelle Gengar was the heart of the team. Then Gothitelle was its anchor. The truth is, this team doesn't even function without Shadow Tag. Perish Song on its own is just a countdown. You can stall it, pivot around it, waste turns. But once you lock the doors, once you tell your opponent, you're not leaving this field. Suddenly, every second of that song matters. That's where Gothitelle comes in. I didn't have to spend long debating its role. Fake Out, Trick Room, Protect, those were non-negotiable. They're what let the team breathe. Fake Out buys the first Perish turn. Trick Room flips the tempo so that my naturally slower pieces, like Incineroar and Dondoso, can operate. And Protect is the move that lets Gothitelle stay on the field just long enough to make sure the math goes my way. But there was one question left. What's the 4th move? Some Gothitelle players run Helping Hand. Some run Taunt. Some go for Ally Switch. I tried those, and what I found was this. If you don't run an attack, people ignore Gothitelle. They let it sit there while they target its partner. That's dangerous, because if your trapper isn't respected, it's like you're playing a 5 on 6. Psychic solved that problem. Suddenly, Sneasler couldn't sit in front of me. Suddenly, opponents had to actually account for Gothitelle doing damage. Next came the stats. I knew I wanted bulk. A lot of bulk. Max HP was the easy part. But I had to decide how to split the defenses. 156 went into defense. Enough to live Rillabones with Hammer and King Gambit's Kowtow Cleave. The rest went into special defense, specifically to survive Timid Life Orb Shadow Ball from Gholdengo. And it worked. Time after time. Gothitelle lived just long enough to let the Perish count reach 0. And then the speed. Or rather, the lack of it. This was a deliberate choice. 0 speed IVs. A sassy nature. I wanted my Gothitelle to be slow. Why? Because that let me control Fake Out order. It let me operate comfortably under Trick Room. And most importantly, in Perish Song endgames, it meant Gothitelle fainted last. When the slowest Pokemon on the field faints last, that's how you win on the count. Finally, the Terra type. This was the hardest decision. At first I tried Dark. It resists Ghost and Psychic, which looks solid. I tested Water, because water is always a good defensive blanket. But both left me exposed to the scariest matchup I kept running into, Ursaluna Blood Moon. None of my Pokemon naturally resist normal, and Terra Normal Blood Moon was blowing holes through my entire team. That's when I decided to try Terra Steel. And it was perfect. It let me resist that one huge Blood Moon hit for just a turn longer. Long enough to finish the song. Long enough to win the game. So that's Gothitelle's story. It doesn't make flashy plays. It doesn't rack up KOs. What it does is far more important. It makes sure the opponent never gets to leave the stage. And without it, the whole performance falls apart. That's why Gothitelle is named Portwater, because she decides who leaves and who doesn't. Dondoso, Dondoso. Not just a broom. I didn't meet Dondoso in a hype moment. Number 6, 0, no fireworks. It was a quiet Amsterdam night. Rain floating instead of falling, canal like a mirror. I could start the parish song. The Portwater could lock the exits. But I couldn't rest. I needed a place to breathe between beats. A carpet, a stage. Something huge that made 3 turns feel like forever. So I tried Dondoso. At first I treated it like everyone does. A broom. But my team isn't a highlight reel. It's a clock. And Dondoso didn't want to sweep. Dondoso wanted to keep time. The first scrim where it truly worked. The board was hostile. Pivot spam. A haze button. Mushroom menacing in the corner. I led the metronome with the Portwater. Sang, and then brought in Dondoso. Not to attack, but to wait. I pressed Jan and watched the room get smaller. Under shadow tag, Jan becomes rude and unavoidable. You either burn your protect, throw away tempo, or you take a nap right when the count hits 1. I could feel their plan bending around my Jan instead of their win condition. That's the moment Parish stops being a strategy and starts being physics. Dondoso taught me little rituals. I started counting the leftovers ticks like beads on a rosary. 16 HP, 16 HP, 16 HP. With leftovers quietly refilling the tank, I could commit to the slow line. Protect on the obvious doubles, Jan on the turns that look too comfortable, and then, only then, pick my damage. People assume the damage is always wave crash. And sometimes it is. It's the voice I use when please doesn't work. Wave crash says move. It hits hard enough that even bulky pivots flinch at the idea of staying, and the recoil of the tax gets paid by the same leftovers clock I'm already watching. In practice, wave crash is the blunt instrument I keep behind the door. If you refuse to respect the countdown, I'll knock. But the move that changed the team wasn't the loud one. It was order up. On paper, it's modest. In games, it's a drumbeat. Tap, +1 attack. Tap, +1 again. Order up doesn't steal tempo. It earns it, especially in the mid-game where I'm trading 1-for-1s and asking the board to calm down. Into dragons that think they're safe. Into grasses after Terra. Into those please don't miss moments. Order up behaves like a grown-up. Reliable, scaling, zero friendly fire. I tried Earthquake early, but it fought my own positioning and did nothing about the things that actually wall me. Order up solved real problems. There was a night a Mungus laughed at me, rage powder into my lines, Rocky helmet punishing every contact, Spore threatening to reset the clock. I made tea I didn't need, stare at the cobblestones, and came back with the most Dutch solution imaginable: go green. Terragrass. Suddenly drum beating wasn't a sentence. Spore wasn't a crisis. Electro shot lines lost their swagger. My big catfish traded the bulldozer hat for a gardener's apron and got back to work. Then Tatsujiri joined the dance. The first time I whistled Parish, slipped Tatsu into mouth, and laid down Whirlpool, the floor turned sticky. They tried to step backward, couldn't. The count fell to 2. 1 protect later, it fell to 1. When Tatsu heard the song from inside and fainted right on schedule, a chair opened. I pulled Flamigo into it and watched CoStar copy every doubled stat Dondoso had been patiently curating with order up. 2 monsters. 1 board. No panic. That's when the kit made perfect sense. Each button a character. Yawn is the blanket. It doesn't KO. It makes bad decisions expensive and good decisions slow. Under tag. It forces the exact turns Parish needs. Protect is the door chain. It wastes doubles, flips 2 H-Gales into 3 H-Gales, and gives leftovers time to do their quiet work. Order up is a drum. It keeps tempo while raising the floor of every trade, turning attrition into inevitability. Wave crash is the shout. When someone ignores the rules of the room, it reminds them, firmly, that we are still playing my game. And leftovers? Leftovers is a kettle that never stops boiling. 16 HP at level 50, every end of turn. Exactly the kind of small, repeatable edge of control player falls in love with. It's the difference between I think I live this double and I know I live this double. With the Port Water, Dondoso speaks Trick Room. Fake out, protect yawn. Choose your mistake. With Incineroar, it speaks in size. Parting shot yon order up repeat. Time is my friend, not yours. With Jengar, it speaks in countdowns. Sing, switch, protect, collect. And with Flamigo, it doesn't speak at all. It just arrives. 2 double stat bars, 1 very small battlefield. Dondoso taught me patience. The difference between winning turns and winning games. Opponents who know the matchup often play worse the longer not just a broom sits there. They save Terra for a sweep that never comes, overcommit to corners that aren't trapped, and by the time they realize the game is about Yon plus protect plus leftovers and not about click wave crash every turn. The counter reads 1. When I finally locked the 6 for Dutch Nationals, the last test wasn't can Dondoso sweep? It was, can I go 3 turns without touching the panic button? Can I take a make it rain, nod politely, tap protect, and let leftovers tick? Can I see Rillaboom and feel annoyed instead of afraid? Can I look at a fishing line of haze and simply say, taunt, protect, refine? Yes, yes, and yes. That's when I knew. This wasn't just a partner for Parrish. It was a reason Parrish worked for me. Not a broom. A base. A place to rest while the world counts down. 3 beats at a time, with yawn, protect, order up, wave crash, and that little green leftover sparkle stitching the turns together. Incineroar, the locksmith, I tried so hard not to add it. Hippowdon with Sand Tomb to pair with yawn. King Gambit to bully Goldingo. Sinistra for cozy heels. Even Electabuzz don't laugh, with Encore taunt Vital Spirit memes. All of them had moments. None of them made the countdown feel inevitable. Then Incineroar showed up, tossed his belt on my desk, and wordlessly rearranged my whole game plan. It didn't join the team. It took custody of the team. Why it exists here, Parrish wins by stealing turns. Not always HP bars, turns. The opponent needs just 1 clean escape. A parting shot, a U-turn, a spore, a haze, a choice-boosted nuke through my sash. If even one of those lands at the wrong moment, my tidy 3-turn puzzle falls apart. Incineroar is how I make those moments not happen. Fake out give you the first quiet beat, so Jengar can actually sing. Parting shot lowers the volume on whatever refuses to be quiet and pivots me to the right piece without giving up the board. Knockoff strips the single item that would break my Parrish math. Assault Vest on Arcaludon. Eviolite on Porygon 2. Citrus on Rillaboom. Choice Specs on Goldingo. Protect buys a whole Parrish tick for free and punishes greedy doubles. Safety Goggles laughs in a Mungus face. Terra Ghost turns off Fake Out and surprise normal fighting gotcha lines. Intimidate quietly takes 20% off everything for the rest of the game. That's not a move set. That's a master key. The set Incineroar at Safety Goggles ability. Intimidate Terra type. Ghost EVs. 252 HP, 156 Def, 100 SPD. Relaxed, 0 SP IVs moves. Fake out parting shot knockoff protectability. Intimidate the passive debuff that makes every barely a 2H Gale become comfortably a 3H Gale, especially once the Parrish counter starts ticking. Intimidate also lets me sit in front of Choice Band Dragonite or Guts Ursaluna for exactly 1 more turn than I should have, often the only turn I need. Item. Safety Goggles. I refuse to let a Mungus write my script. Goggles ignores Spore and Rage Powder, so I get the turn I want, not the turn they want. Hidden bonus. No Rocky Helmet chip on awkward knockoffs, and no Sand Hail chip during razor-thin endgames. Terra. Ghost Emergency Exit. Immune to Fake Out on the exact turn opponents try to pin me. Blank to Extreme Speed Facade endgames. Way safer into random close combat low kick attempts. I seldom need it, but when I do, it flips the position instantly. Nature EVs IVs, the Bouncer Suit. 252 HP. Maximum overall bulk. 2 more actions per game, easily. 156 Def. Lives Sneasler close combat after Intimidate and stays on the field through Rillaboom physical pressure. 100 SPD. survives a non-boosted Make It Rain after Parting Shot or Intimidate, and holds through weird Porygon 2 download calcs long enough to fake out or knock off first. Relax, 0 SPEIVs. Deliberate speed engineering. Outside Trick Room, I'm slower than Gothitelle, so I can Parting Shot after opposing pivots act, perfect for reacting to what they brought in. Inside Trick Room, I move before Goth. So sequences like knock off Psychic land in the correct order to secure KOs and deny berry procs. Buttons in practice fake out. The silence. Perish only exists if turn 1 is in chaos. Fake out gives me that guaranteed stillness. I usually place on the threat that bypasses Shadow Tag, enemy Incineroar, or U-turn users, so Gengar can sing unbothered. A single flinch equals a whole game plan. Parting Shot. The hinge. This is how I stay on the right board at the right time. The stat drop prevents bandaged outs. And the pivot means I never have to stay in a bad face. With Gothitelle on the field, the opponent is trapped. My slot changes, theirs don't. It feels illegal every time. Key detail. Because I'm very slow, Parting Shot often goes last, letting me see their move, debuff it, and then bring the exact answer. Dondoso into a weakened physical slot. Gengar safely into a Nerf special slot, or Gothitelle to close the door. Knockoff. Math Cleaner. Perish Math gets messy with items. Assault Vest lets Arcalutin eat Shadow Ball forever. Eviolite makes Porygon 2 survive lines it shouldn't. Citrus or Pinch berries pop on the wrong turn and steal the clock. Knockoff erases all that nonsense. My favorite sequence. In Trick Room, I act before Goth knockoff Goth Psychic picks up the KO the berry would have blocked. That 1-2 is why the 0 speed 4 matters. Protect. 1 free tick People Cut Protect on Incineroar. That's a different team. Here, it's how I turn Perish 2 into Perish 1 without losing a piece. It baits doubles an open team sheet, stalls Tailwind, and creates fake 50-50s where any target selection loses them a turn. Protect is also the safety pin when I need Gengar to survive one more Dazzling Gleam after Sash. My slot shields, their double fails, the song keeps playing. Little Amsterdam alleyway anecdotes. Whimsicott plus Golden Go opener. I lead Gengar plus Incineroar. T1. Fake out Golden Go. Perish song goes up. T2. They tried Tailwind plus U-turn. I Parting Shot into the greed slot and bring Gothitelle. Now Shadow Tag is on. Make It Rain is neutered, and the counter is already at 2. From here, Protect on the double, and we slide to 1 for free. Amoonguss plus Ursaluna. They think Rage Powder is going to kidnap my turn. Safety Goggles says no. I knock off the Rocky Helmet Citrus, Parting Shot the bear, and pivot to Dondoso. Next turn, Yawn plus Shadow Tag turns their position into checkmate. If they attack, they sleep. If they protect, they die to Perish. Mirror Instant Mind Games. They Parting Shot first. I move last, Parting Shot second, see the partner they brought, and pick exactly the answer that punishes it. That who leaves last rule wins entire sets. Pin turns versus fighting spam. Into Sneasler or Annihilate pins. I sometimes tear a ghost on the exact turn they commit double fighting into my slot. Their pin whiffs. Fake out immunity is online, and suddenly we're the ones dictating pace. How it meshes with the rest. With a metronome. Fake out creates Perish turn 1. Parting Shot guards against the 1 nuke that breaks Sash. Protect bridges 2-1. Meanwhile, Gengar's taunt blocks their Parting Shot. The only pivot Shadow Tag can't stop, so we get the clean cycle. With the Pourtoitre. In TR, knockoff Psychic removes engines. Outside TR, my slower Parting Shot reacts after seeing their choice, keeping the lock airtight. With not just a broom. Parting Shot loops by Yawn windows nobody can dodge, especially once Tatsujiri has Whirlpool trap something. If they try to stall, they fall asleep. If they fight, they do it at -1/-1 into a wall. With Flamigo, Clear Amulet keeps copied stats pure, but Instant still matters. It removes Intimidate loops and drum beating attack drops from the equation, and Protect stalls the 1 turn Flamigo needs to roost off recoil. What I didn't keep, Flare Blitz. Tempting, but recoil plus the roll conflict was wrong for Perish lines. Snarl. Good move. Worse than Parting Shot here, because I want the debuff and the pivot. Taunt. Amazing tool. But I place it on Jengar Tatsujiri to answer parting shot Hayes' Trick Room on the turns they matter most. When the board is loud, tailwind howling, U-turn buzzing, mushrooms puffing spores, Incineroar pads onto center stage, puts one claw to its lips and the room obeys. Fake out, parting shot, knock off, protect, safety goggles, Terra Ghost, intimidate on repeat. By the time the counter hits 1, the crowd doesn't remember the exact moment they lost access to their outs. Only that some quiet bouncer kept closing doors until there weren't any left. That's why the Tiger is my support. It's my locksmith, Tatsujiri, the timing artist. If Jengar is a metronome clicking out the countdown, and Gothitelle is the porch water holding the doors shut, then Tatsujiri is a hand on the dimmer switch, quietly deciding when the lights go down. It doesn't win scenes with raw damage. It wins them with timing. And in a team that literally weaponizes time, that makes Tatsujiri the soul of the operation. I didn't start out respecting it. Early testing, Tatsu felt like a ticket stub. You only bring it so Dondoso gets to sing. I tried the obvious Attacker Jr., set Draco Meteor plus some utility, and every game ended the same way. Either I got greedy for damage and lost timing, or I protected twice and wondered why I brought a dragon to do nothing. The fix arrived in the most boring place, the move list. I was building a Hippowdon for a different team and remembered Sand Tomb, Little Chip, more importantly a trap. That word stuck. Trap plus Perish Song is not cute. It's criminal. Tatsujiri doesn't learn Sand Tomb, but it does learn Whirlpool. That single swap changed the job description from passenger to pilot. The moment it clicked, picture a Scrim Knight. Opponent leads Incineroar plus Amoonguss, the exact pair every Perish player groans at. I send out Jengar plus Tatsujiri. Turn 1. Jengar hums Perish Song, and Tatsu lays down Whirlpool into Incineroar. The count appears, 3. The trap bites. Incin is stuck. Amoonguss tries the spore, but Taunt turns it off next turn. Turn 2. Taunt from Jengar onto the cat, and Tatsujiri chips with Icy Wind. No parting shot escape. No U-turn nonsense. Shadow tag later will mean no escape. Turn 3. Protect on both the soak. The count drops to 1, and suddenly my opponent realizes the board is collapsing with no exits. Next turn, I pivot to Dondoso, safe commander, while their Incineroar faints on schedule. That's the whole Tatsujiri thesis. It doesn't kill you. It makes your options expire. The 4 buttons. Whirlpool, the trap that upgrades Perish Song from threat to deadline. It pins pivoters, forces greedy protects, and this is the spicy part. Secures Tatsujiri's own KO once it's inside Dondoso, so Flamigo get a free, boosted entry. When people talk about lines, Whirlpool draws them. Icy Wind universal speed control that respects both of my lanes. In Perish mode, it makes sure Taunt Protect ordering breaks right. In Co-Star mode, it buys a safe window to Commander before the real damage starts. It looks like Chip. It plays like a turn extender. Taunt the second safety belt. Jengar taunts the pivots on the Perish turn. Tatsujiri taunts the setup pieces before Dondoso arrives. Hayes Dragonite Primarina. Trick Room Porygon 2. Spore Mungus. It's preemptive maintenance for the board state you want to exist 2 turns from now. Protect the most honest move in doubles. It blanks Fake Out turn 1. Fixes Perish math, and lets you stage the Whirlpool switch to Dozo sequence without taking a fatal double. With Focus Sash Jengar beside you, Protect on Tatsu is the difference between almost got there and got there clean. Item, Terra, and why they aren't negotiable. Ability Shield my team is made of abilities. Shadow Tag, Commander, Co-Star, Intimidate. Neutralizing Gas, Wheezing use Auto Ruin all 3 modes at once. Ability Shield flips that on its head. Now I Perish plus Whirlpool the Wheezing. If it stays, it faints. If it leaves, my abilities come back online. Either way, Co-Star Flamigo becomes real again. 1 item, 3 problem solved. Terra Steel the Dragon Sushi wearing armor. Steel flips a bunch of swing turns. Whimsicott Moonblast, Stray Dazzling Gleam, even random Ice Beam line from Rain Setters. More importantly, It gives Tatsu the extra half turn it sometimes needs to finish the trap or survive the entry into Commander. Offense terrors were tempting, but live one more turn is worth more than 20% damage on a Pokemon whose job is timing. The bulk that makes it all work, Tatsujiri is trained to do exactly two things: survive 2 turns on a lead and survive 1 turn inside chaos. That's why it's bulky. 252 HP, 124 Def, 132 SPD. Bold. Enough to live Rillaboom with Hammer and Whimsicott Moonblast Tears. You actually face an open sheets, plus random chip from doubles while you line up Whirlpool, switch to Dondoso. No speed investment. Icy Wind takes care of that for the whole field. You feel this when a double up lands and Tatsu is still there, blinking, ready to swap to Dozo, and the opponent realizes the trap timer didn't stop. Roll in each mode. Perish Lockdown. Lead with Gengar plus Tatsu into pivot-heavy teams. Whirlpool locks the Cat-Bird Sash support. Taunt preempt status. Then you bring in Gothitelle to make the trap permanent. It's Perish with Bolts On. Co-Star Flamigo. The famous line. Perish plus Whirlpool Commander double protect, while the count drops Tatsu feints inside Dozo-free Flamigo enters, and Co-Star copies all the boosts. 2 Titans, 1 board, no fair. Classic Dozo. Here, Tatsu's job is to make the right commander window exist. Icy Wind slows the race. Taunt stops TR Haze. Then you tuck safely into Big Fish and let Yawn and order up grindy endgame. 2 little stories that sold me forever one. The Arcaludon test. Rain player leads Pelipper plus Arcaludon. The classic Open Tailwind and Discharge a Meteor plan. I go Gengar plus Tatsu. Turn 1. Perish Song plus Whirlpool into Pelipper. Tailwind goes up, but now the bird can't leave. Turn 2. Taunt on Pelipper prevents a second Tailwind Protect shenanigan. Icy Wind brings their fast mode back to Earth. On the count of 1, I switch to Dozo while the bird drops. Commander online without ever eating an Electro Shot double. That's not luck. That's Tatsujiri engineering the window. 2. The Wee-Zing trick. Opponent anchors a neutralizing gas line to turn off my whole team. Shielded Tatsu laughs. Perish plus Whirlpool targets Wee-Zing. They're forced to either Terra or switch. Next turn, Taunt closes escape hatch. On 1, I pivot to Dozo and the gas evaporates, literally and figuratively. It used to be an auto loss. Now it's a setup. Why I call it the timing artist, because when Tatsujiri is on the field, everything starts happening on my schedule. Your pivots? Late. Your haze? Too early. Your trick room? A turn-off. Your spore? Silenced. And when the music gets loud and Dondoso swallows the stage, my little sushi roll bows, exits on cue, and lets Flamigo take the spotlight, exactly when the crowd is ready. That's not a cameo. That's direction. Flamigo. The Spiegel the first time Flamigo landed beside Dondoso, the arena felt like it tilted. Not because of a crit or a flinch or any of the usual lottery tickets, just physics. Co-Star flashed, and suddenly there were 2 giants where a second ago there'd only been 1. The crowd did that little hush they do when something unfair but beautiful is happening. I remember thinking, this is the moment the board breaks in half. I didn't start the season planning around Flamigo. Honestly, I thought it was a meme, a long-legged bird that copy-pastes stats. Cute, linear, but when the Perish shell started working, Gengar counting down, Gothitelle locking doors, Dondoso being a wall with a heartbeat, I kept losing the same kind of game. The ones where my opponent respected Perish perfectly. They burn protects on all the right beats, pivot around Yawn, and arrive at turn 4 with everything still alive. Their board reset, my pressure diffused. That's when I realized what I was missing wasn't more control. It was a punishment for a perfect play. Enter Flamigo, who we started calling the Spiegel, the mirror. It doesn't create pressure from zero. It refracts what we've already built and sends it back doubled. That's its whole poetry. We do the hard setup. The bird cashes a check. The engine that makes it sing is a little evil. Tatsujiri traps with Whirlpool while Gengar sings. The count begins. I switch to Dondoso. Commander locks in and doubles everything. The clock ticks. Tatsujiri hears the final bell inside Dondoso's mouth, and faint on schedule. And then there's a hole, one precious empty slot on my side of the field, just in time for Flamigo to step through like it owns the place. CoStar copies every boost Dondoso is holding. 2 win conditions instantly side by side. It isn't subtle, and it doesn't need to be. I built the Spiegel like a breaker that could keep breaking for more than one turn. That's why the 4th move isn't taunt or tailwind. It's roost, with double defenses. Flamigo isn't a paper cannon. It's surprisingly thick. Roost takes all those recoil races that Brave Bird usually loses and flips them into loops I can win. You watch the HP bar go down. You feel the panic. And then, whoop, the health comes back. Brave Bird self-harm erase like chalk in the rain. It lets you make those greedy 2 KO lines and still have a finisher 2 turns later. And yes, we went with Detect over Protect. Those 6 letters matter. Detect dodges stray and prison lines, and buys me exact, honest turns against doubles. Parish teams live and die on clock management. Detect is the cleaner clock. The 2 attacks are non-negotiable. Brave Bird is the button you press when the other side forgot to plan for a second boosted flyer. It erases the things that look bulky only from ground level. Close combat is Arcalunan insurance and late-game truth. When the dust clears, typing still wins games. With CoStar speed, Flamigo often moves before answers. With CoStar power, it doesn't need to click twice. The trade-off is recoil and defense drops, but that's why Roost sits there like a reset lever. Swing, heal, swing again. Item, clear amulet. We tested a dozen trinkets and kept coming back to this one. The team's biggest heartbreaks were the turns where Flamigo arrived majestic and immediately got clipped. Intimidate on the way in, drum beating taking speed, snarl trimming the edge. The amulet doesn't help a Dondoso is already debuffed, but it does block the cascade of fresh drops that would otherwise unravel your copied halo the second you touch the field. It keeps the mirror clean. Terrestrialization? Steel. It looks boring until you play the matchups. Steel flips Primarina's Moonblast from oh no to oh fine, softens poison hits like clear smog, and quietly patches all those neutral scraps that decide Game 3s. I tested flying and Stellar for greedier KOs. They were fun highlights, but they didn't win more tournaments. Steel did. On paper, the spread doesn't look romantic. 252 HP 148 ATK 44 Def 60 SPD 4 SPE jolly. But every pip is a sentence in Flamigo's love letter to Tempo. Max HP turns Roost into a thunderstorm instead of a drizzle. The attack investment is exactly enough once you've copied Dozo swelling numbers. Anything more is vanity. The split bulk holds through common chip patterns, so you're not constantly one bad roll from the floor. And the sneaky 4 speed with jolly nature, it looks like a typo until CoStar doubles your speed. Then suddenly the bird that shouldn't be that fast is gliding past threats that thought they were safe. It's not about winning raw base speed wars. It's about being just barely ahead when the world is doubled. There's a little art to using the Spiegel without throwing it away. You do not lead it unless you're telling a very specific lie. You curate its entrance. Sometimes it means you don't take a KO with Dondoso the turn before Flamigo arrives, because you'd open space for their Incineroar come in and intimidate your whale and effectively dull the reflection. Sometimes it means you do swing into the rocky helmet of Mungus, because trading 40% recoil plus 16% chip for a clean board is worth it when Roost is on deck and the second attacker is still healthy. Flamigo doesn't need to be pampered. It needs to be timed. I'll never forget the first time it won a set on stream. The line was textbook. Parish plus Whirlpool, Commander, Stall, switch in. My opponent saw Flamigo and smirked. One of those tiny-faced twitches you catch if you played enough. Then Brave Bird came down like a quiet meteor, and before anyone could even process the recoil, close combat deleted the supposed counter. We Roost, detected, and watched their timer crawl to 0 options while the count ticked like rain on a window. The chat argued about whether it was fair. I didn't mind. Flamigo isn't here to be fair. It's here to end stalemates. If Jengar is a metronome, the one who sets the tempo, and Gothitelle is a portwater, the one who locks the doors, and Dondoso is the pillow we lay the plan upon, then Flamigo is the moment the plan stands up, stretches its wings, and moves in for close. The Spiegel doesn't just copy numbers, it copies intent. It tells the opponent, everything you were worried about from that side of the field, there are two of them now. And the best part? It taught me to love a different kind of aggression. Not the coin flip lead, not the raw gamble, but the clean, ruthless strike that follows perfect control. The 1-2 beat of countdown into collapse. The board compresses. The count goes 3, 2, 1, and a pink wing cuts through the silence. Practice before somewhere in the scrims. Echo ping me. Try taunt first, sing second, count always. It stuck. By Thursday, the team moved like a single piece. Practice week. Making the team move like one piece Amsterdam kept its usual rhythm. Trams clicking past a window, a thin ribbon of rain under streetlights, but my room ran on a different clock. I set 2 alarms each night, one to start scrims, one to stop. I hit the first one every time. The second, occasionally. I rearranged the desk so it felt like a little control room. Switch dock front and center. A chip mug that said, "Yawn is interaction." A Jengar plush with a permanent smirk. Sat where a coach might sit if I could afford one. The first session wasn't about winning. It was about listening, counting out loud until it got into my bones. 3, 2, 1. Parrish isn't a button. It's a metronome. I tapped the desk as I played, like a pianist finding tempo. When the count lives in your hands, panic has fewer places to hide. I started with ladder games to shake off rust, then DM'd 2 friends to run targeted sets. We built a menu and stuck to it. Menu, Night 1. Rain Core's tailwind defense. Good as gold shells, classic tar. Mushroom rooms the first hour was messy. Fat finger protects. Greedy Parrish clicks. And me forgetting that Shadow Tag doesn't care about my feelings. Then the rhythm found me. I stopped playing to win and started playing to arrive, to a bored state where my opponent had 2 bad choices and 1 worse one. I wrote 3 little rules on a sticky note and taped it to the switch. 1. Taunt before romance. If they have parting shot, haze, spore, or trick room, I earn the right to sing first by silencing the exit. 2. Protect as a resource, not a reflex. Use it to sync the count, not to soothe nerves. 3. Never donate tempo on a full count. If Parrish is at 2, I don't attack into doubles. I trade turns, not HP. By midnight, the rules were habits. I could feel when an opponent was itching to pivot, like watching someone try to leave a crowded tram. The strangest improvement came from a drill Echo suggested over chat. Play game 1 at half speed. Not timer stalling, just quiet. Before turn 1, I'd say the branches out loud like a recipe. If they lead Pelipper plus Goldingo, I protect Tatsu, taunt with Jengar, or sing if Good as Gold is off the field. Then Whirlpool. If they tailwind, I go Dozo. If they double, I sash. If they pivot, I taunt the slot next. It sounded silly, but saying the branches unclenched something in my brain. The moves stopped competing. They started aligning. Another drill I made up accidentally. The blind count. I muted game audio and turned off move animations for 5 games, forcing myself to track the Parrish turns and sleep timers without cues. It's amazing how many mistakes disappear when you don't need the client to tell you what you already knew. On Rain, the breakthrough was simple. I kept trying to win damage races I hadn't signed up for. The fix was posture. Taunt first, Whirlpool second, Commander third. Rain teams hate schedules. If Pelipper stayed, it died on 0. If it switched, Dozo got in for free. If it doubled Jengar, Sash paid my entrance fee, and I left with the tempo. Against Whimsicott plus Dragonite, I practiced breathing through Tailwind. Old me would scramble, clicking protects like a seatbelt. New me taunted on 1, then played inside the wind. Stalled 2 turns to protect plus pivots, then flip with Trick Room Goth or swap to Dozo, and use Yawn to turn their speed into a liability. Watching an extreme speed slam into a protect while the Parrish counter ticked felt like hearing a door lock from a hallway. Goldingo demanded something different, respect without fear. I ran a block of games where I wasn't allowed to attack it unless it terastallized first. The point wasn't to be fancy. It was to let Shadow Ball pressure do its job. More often than not, they tear it into a worse type just to dodge the threat, and the rest of the game became manageable on my terms. The habit stuck. Threaten, don't tunnel. Porygon 2 plus Ursaluna was the match that taught me patience as a weapon. We replayed the end of turn 1 6 times in a row. Fake out order, taunt targets, when to let TR go up and when to stop it. The surprising answer? Letting Trick Room stand was sometimes better, because my board is built to act last when I want it to, when you know you're slower on purpose. Parish endgames become solvable puzzles. We turned that into a comfort pick instead of a coin flip. Mushrooms were the last boss of practice. I lined up 3 tabs of Amoonguss replays, each with a different item. The Rocky Helmet one forced me to feel the recoil math with Flamigo, how many brave birds I could afford before Roost needed to happen, when to Terra Steel preemptively, when to pass the turn and yawn instead. By the end, I wasn't beating Amoonguss. I was refusing to play its game. Goggles instant walked straight past it. Taunt made it spectator. There was one night where everything fell apart, and I'm glad it did. I ran into a Weezing set I hadn't prepped properly for. Neutralizing gas shut off half my team sheet and made me feel like an imposter. I took a breath, stared at the ability shield on Tatsujiri, and replayed our own theory. Whirlpool plus Perish is still legal. I trapped, I counted, I switched the dozo on schedule, and the game didn't crumble. It wasn't pretty, but it was proof. After that, I slept easy. By Thursday, the drills blurred into muscle memory. I could close my eyes and see 3 overlapping paths on every turn. Perish locked, dozo stall, co-star collapse. I didn't have a name for it yet, but the shape of the plan was there. Mapping those wind cones before the timer even started made the actual clicking feel. Quiet. The last session was short. I played a best of 3 against a friend who lives to grief my habits. He tried all the exits. Early parting shot, late haze, fake TR, double protect. We ended 2-1, but the score wasn't what mattered. The feeling did. The team didn't just function, it flowed. The little choices, the taunt discipline, the protect order, the yawn timing, added up to something that felt like me. I powered down, stacked the notes, and put the Jengar plush in the backpack. Outside, the rain had stopped. The street smelled like cold stone and coffee. I set a single alarm for the morning and didn't bother with a second. Tomorrow would be trains and brackets and bright lights. Tonight, the room was quiet enough to hear the count. 3, 2, 1. Top cut. Game 1 versus Liam Faberg. Open sheets hit the table, and my stomach did a tiny loop. Dragonite plus Rillaboom is a kind of pairing that usually makes Perish players age 5 years in 3 turns. Priority pressure from Choice Band Extreme Speed on one side, Grassy Chip and Fake Out on the other. But then I actually read the lines. No haze. Dragonite was banned with Dragon Claw, not the loaded dice scale shot I feared. Rillaboom had drum beating over with hammer and high horsepower. Suddenly it wasn't a hard counter. It was a maze with exits. So I took the lane that punishes respect. If Liam Faberg wanted a tailwind and posture, I'd use that time to set the machine. Perish plus Whirlpool Commander Flamigo, for turns to compress the board to 0. I led Jengar with Tatsujiri. He answered with Dragonite and Whimsicott. Turn 1, I Terra Steel the Sushi. It's a small thing, but it blunt edges Dragon Claw and stray fairy splashes. He does the classic Whimsicott opener, Tailwind. Dragonite swings into Tatsu, 37-ish%. Fine, that's my tax. Jengar sings. The arena closes over us like a lid. 3 turns to live. Tatsu finishes the picture with Whirlpool onto Whimsicott. Now it's not just a countdown. It's a countdown you can't walk away from. Perish count. 3. On turn 2, he recognizes a trap and pivots, pulling Dragonite for Rillaboom to reset angles and add terrain. Whimsicott goes for Encore to lock Jengar into Perish. People think Encore is a disaster there. I treat it like free incense. If I'm forced to keep singing while you're stuck in a whirlpool, you're the one running out of air. I refresh the trap by whirlpooling the new arrival. Rillaboom gets tagged too. Terrain is healing everyone, but that's fine. All it does is buy me the exact extra turn Don Doso loves. Perish count. 2. Turn 3 is a hinge. I recall Jengar and drop not just a broom, Dondoso onto the field. Commander snaps into place. Tatsujiri disappears into the deep. Whimsicott tries to encore Tatsujiri. Again, and Rillaboom swings a drain punch at the empty tile where it used to be. Both attacks whiff into water. That's the moment you hear a door lock somewhere in the building. Perish count. 1. Now I just have to honor the clock. Turn 4, Dozo protects. Whimsicott throws Stun Spore into Bubble. Rillaboom drums uselessly against it. Whirlpool chips. Terrain ticks. And then the music stops. Whimsicott drops to 0 and faints. My Tatsujiri, its job complete, faints inside Dozo's mouth. Tailwind fades with it. I get the perfect reward for patience. A free switch to Flamigo. Custafidas. 2 monsters with doubled stats stand shoulder to shoulder. Liam Fayberg scrambles Dragonite back in. He's forced to press priority, extreme speed into Dozo for chip, because he can't afford to take 2 boosted hits. But that's exactly what he gets. Flamigo dives first. Brave Bird carves Dragonite a half, and Dozo's order up a Dragon-type Haymaker. Finishes the job clean from there. Attack rises again. Rillaboom answers with drum beating into my grass Dozo, doing real damage but not enough, and shaving speed that doesn't matter now that the board is mine. Grassy terrain, and leftovers do their slow dance. Then the earlier math pays out. Rillaboom's own perish counter quietly clicks to 0. It collapses. The field goes silent. He forfeits before we even talk about endgame positioning. From the outside it looks flashy, double-boosted Flamigo, Dragonite getting split between wings and waves, but the win came 15 actions earlier. Terra Steel on Tatsu to absorb that first hit. Perish plus Whirlpool to trap 2 targets. He couldn't afford to lose. The commander swap that made Encore and Drain Punch both fail on the same turn. The Protect that spent the last seconds of the song with discipline. Everything after that, Brave Bird. Order up, the attack boosts, the terrain math. Was gravity. Round 0. Before the hall breeze the night before, I lay the team sheet out on my desk like a map. 6 names, 6 roles. Metronome, Portwater, not just a broom, the locksmith co-star, and the little sushi roll. One by one, I circle the lines that matter most. Perish Trap Protect order. Whirlpool timing. Terra Grass equals Respect the Mushroom. It looks less like a Pokemon roster, and more like a recipe for survival. I tuck a spare focus sash into the front pocket of my case, even though it's useless out of game. Superstition counts for something. In the quiet of Amsterdam, I swear I can hear a metronome tick. 3 beats to every win. Morning hums in with the NS train southbound. Coffee balanced on one knee, Stripwafel bribe on the other. Outside the window, green fields, water flashing between canals. Inside my head, openers. If they lead Tailwind, sing. If they lead Intimidate, taunt. If they lead Greed, yawn. A kid in a Pikachu hoodie points at the Jengar keychain hanging from my bag. I give him a nod like we're co-conspirators. Utrecht Central rolls in. My heart does too. At checking the ritual feels mechanical, badge, pen scratch, team sheet, a judge counting items while I count breaths. Echo materializes out of the crowd with that grin. 60% warmth, 40% trash talk. Don't lose before I get to beat you, they say. I give back one of those Dutch half hugs and fire back. Bring Trick Room. I brought a locksmith. I double-check one last detail on the sheet. Dondoso HP. 256. The little leftovers math that flips 2 hit KOs into 3. That click of certainty is louder than the crowd. And then the hall opens like a lung filling with air. Pairings post. Clock start. The machine we built finally leaves the lab. Swiss montage Swiss. The Parish Comedy Tour. Round 1 Rillaboom and Dragonite. Opponent leads Fake Out plus multi-scale extreme speed. Very scary. Until Portwater clicks Fake Out and Metronome just starts singing. By turn 3, their Dragonite is gone without ever clicking S-Speed. Opponent type song team in chat. I type Karaoke Night. 1-0. Round 2 Arcaludon Rain. They set up Pelipper plus Arcaludon. Looking so confident. I Whirlpool plus Parish Song. Turn 1. Trapped them in the Vortex. Arcaludin starts charging Electro Shot, but by the time it fires, it's feigning to the countdown. The guy next to me whispers, "That's illegal." "Nope, just Shadow Tag." 2-0. Round 3, Trick Room Porygon 2. Opponent sets Trick Room turn 1. I encore them into Trick Room, so now they're stuck toggling on and off like a broken light switch. After the match, they just shake their head and say, "I hate this, but I respect it." 3-0. Round 4, Basculegion Hyper Fence. He tries a flip turn into Last Respects combo. I yawn as Basculegion, protect stall, and by turn 3 his Ghostfish just flops asleep. Chat, he Rage terraces a Mungus Psychic and still gets taunted. 4-0. Round 5, Grimmsnarl Screens. He sets Reflect. He sets Light Screen. He Spirit Breaks. Meanwhile, I'm clicking Protect like I'm playing Dance Dance Revolution. At 0 Parish Count, I tell him, "Nice screens, bro. Now enjoy watching them from the Shadow Realm." Whole table laughs. 5-0. Round 6, Goldingo Balance. Opponent leads Incineroar plus Goldingo, probably feeling good about parting shot into Make It Rain. Nope. Gengar taunts the Incineroar. Parish songs a whole board, and suddenly Goldingo is stuck like it owes rent. Opponent sighs, "I forgot Parish song exists." 6-0. Round 7, last round Swiss, win and in. Guy is running Whimsicott plus Hydreigon. He tries Tailwind. I taunt. He tries Moonblast. Gengar lives on Focus Sash, sings, and Hydreigon is trapped. At Parish Count 0, Hydreigon faints while still snoring from yawn. Opponent just says, "Bro, you're evil." I nod. 7-0. So I finish Swiss undefeated, with the whole venue now convinced I'm the Parish guy. Nobody knows I haven't even unleashed Flamigo mode yet. Like, the bird hasn't even stretched its wings. Top Cut round 1, Top Cut. Game 1 versus Liam Faber. The atmosphere in the venue changed the moment Swiss ended. The jokes, the laughs, the goofy, "Oh no, my Flamigo is just a pink chicken" energy. It was gone. The lights felt brighter. The crowd felt louder. Every step toward the Top Cut stage made my chest tighten a little more. This wasn't about farming ladder points or clowning around in a Discord server. This was the Dutch National Championships, and I was one set away from proving that my strange little Parish trap, Flamigo creation, could stand against the world's best. And my first opponent? Liam Fayberg, a veteran from Japan, someone whose name carried weight. He wasn't just good. He was terrifyingly consistent, the kind of player who doesn't give you free wins. And his team screamed danger. Ursaluna, Dragonite, Rillaboom, Whimsicott, Annihilate, and Ninetales Alola. At first glance, I hated it. Dragonite and Rillaboom are two of the scariest Pokemon for my team to handle. Normally, Dragonite would just delete me with Scale Shot plus Haze support, and Rillaboom threatens every one of my water types with Grassy Glide and with Hammer. But when I opened the team sheet, I saw the truth, and it was like the clouds parting above me. This Dragonite wasn't the typical hazard to society Haze set. It was running Choice Band Extreme Speed. No Scale Shot. No Haze. No setup to ruin my Parish plan. And the Rillaboom? Drum beating instead of with Hammer. Which meant one thing. My Terragrass Dondoso could laugh in its face, shrugging off grass damage while my Flamigo stayed safe with Clear Amulet. Right then, I knew the mode. This wasn't a Parish song game. This was Flamigo Co-Star mode. The pink chicken was going to win me round 1. I sat down, locked in my lead of Gengar plus Tatsujiri, and the crowd leaned forward. Liam Fayberg sent out Dragonite and Whimsicott. The Japanese powerhouse versus the Dutch Dreamer. The battle started. The crowd held its breath as the timer ticked down. I locked in my lead, Gengar plus Tatsujiri. Across the stage, Liam Fayberg revealed his openers, Dragonite plus Whimsicott. A classic Japan-style lead. Speed control, disruption, and overwhelming pressure. I adjusted my headphones. All right, I whispered to myself, time to sing. Turn 1, Whimsicott moved first. The tailwind unfurled like a banner, whipping the battlefield into a frenzy. Dragonite lunged forward with Dragon Claw, slamming into Tatsujiri. My little sushi roll barely held on, losing 37% but still standing. And then Jengar grinned. Parrish song rang out across the arena, the haunting notes pulling Dragonite, Whimsicott, Tatsugiri, and even Jengar itself into the countdown. But I wasn't done. Tatsugiri, locked in, spat out a whirlpool, catching Whimsicott in its swirling waters. Whimsicott twirled, trapped, its focus sash now guaranteed to be worn thin. The Parrish count ticked down. 3 turns. The crowd gasped. "Oh no," someone muttered behind me. "He's really doing it." Turn 2 Liam Faber didn't hesitate. He yanked Dragonite back, bringing in Rillaboom. Grassy Surge covered the field, softening blows for his team, and Whimsicott revealed the tech. Encore. My Jengar got caught, forced to spam Parrish song over and over. Normally devastating. But I smiled. This was exactly what I wanted. Tatsugiri calmly kept spinning its whirlpool, dragging Rillaboom into the vortex as well. 2 Pokemon trapped, their HP slowly chipped, and the Parrish clock kept ticking. Whimsicott's count. 2 Rillabooms, 3 Jengars, 2 Tatsugiris, 2. The stage lights fell hotter. I leaned back, trusting the plan. Turn 3, it was time. I pulled Jengar back and threw Dondoso into the fray. The arena roared as Tatsugiri dove into its partner's mouth, Commander activating. Stats shot like fireworks, attack, defense, SP def, speed, all doubled. My gentle giant had become a monster. But Liam Fayberg wasn't folding. Whimsicott tried to encore again, this time aiming for Tatsugiri, but the sushi roll dodged at the last second. Rillaboom swung with Drain Punch, but missed completely. The traps were already tightening. Whimsicott's Parrish count fell to 1. Tatsugiri's 2. The audience whispered. He's going to sacrifice his own Pokemon. Turn 4, I click Protect with Dondoso. The crowd thought it was passive, just buying time. But really, it was a setup for destiny. Whimsicott threw out a stun spore blocked. Rillaboom pounded into the shield with drum beating. And then it happened. The Parrish song ended. Whimsicott fainted. Tatsugiri fainted. The crowd erupted in shock. But this wasn't a mistake. This was the plan. Because when Tatsugiri fainted, it opened a slot on my side. Go! Flamigo! The pink bird landed, its eyes sharp. Co-Star activated. And in that instant, Flamigo copied every single one of Dondoso's boosts. Now it wasn't one monster on my side. It was 2. The arena went silent. Then chaos. Turn 5 Dragonite came back out, trying to save the game with sheer power. It fired off extreme speed, but it only tickled a colossal Dondoso. Flamigo lunged with Brave Bird, crashing into Dragonite for 50% of its HP. Dondoso followed up with Order Up, and together, the 2 Titans erased Dragonite from existence. Rillaboom swung again, but the damage was laughable. The Parrish Trap had become a stat-boosted steamroller. Turn 6 with Tailwind gone and both of his Pokemon staring down, a +2 Dondoso, and Flamigo, Liam Faber, paused. His timer ticked down to 5 seconds. And then the forfeit button flashed. The screen declared it. Dick Doof won the battle. The crowd went wild. I exhaled, handshaking. Game 1 won not with Parrish Trap, but with my insane Co-Star mode. Flamigo, the pink chicken everyone laughed at in Team Preview, had just stomped a top Japanese player out of the bracket. I leaned back in my chair, grinning. This, I thought, is only the beginning. Top Cut round 2 winning. My first set felt like stepping out of a storm. The roar of the crowd, the pulse of the music, the camera lights flashing, for a moment, almost didn't feel real. I had just knocked out a Japanese veteran with a pink chicken and a giant fish. But there was no time to bask in the glory, because waiting for me in the next round was Lamest Amos, a German player and a former world champion. His reputation was legendary. Calm under pressure, unshakable in execution, and famous for squeezing every last drop of value out of defensive cores. I walked up to the stage again, headphones pressed tight, heart pounding harder than before. The commentators were already hyping it up. On the left, the Dutch newcomer who's been taking names of one of the most creative teams in the tournament. And on the right, a proven champion. Will his experience shut down the Cinderella run? The battle was about to begin. Lamest Amos's team, Porygon 2 Sneasler Goldingo Amoonguss Garchomp. Incineroar immediately. I felt the weight of it. Amoonguss, Sneasler, Goldingo. These were Pokemon my team was designed to fight, but they're terrifying in the hands of a player this good. I knew if I wanted to advance, I had to stay sharp. Turn 1, he led Sneasler plus Incineroar. I threw out my tried-and-true opener, Gengar plus Tatsugiri. Fake-out pressure loomed. Dire Claw threatened status. But I had a plan. Sneasler went for Protect. Scouting. Incineroar clicked Parting Shot. Pivoting back to Amoonguss. Gengar sang. Perish song filled the air. Tatsugiri dropped a Whirlpool, trapping Incineroar in the vortex. Perish count. Ticking. Turn 2, he swapped Sneasler back, bringing Incineroar out again to reset Intimidate. I read it. My Gengar threw out a taunt, catching Amoonguss before it could spore. Tatsugiri tightened the Whirlpool around Incineroar. Amoonguss sat there useless, glaring at me. The crowd cheered. Taunt Gengar was already proving its worth. Turn 3 momentum built. I doubled down with Icy Wind from Tatsugiri, slowing both Amoonguss and Incineroar. My Gengar followed with another taunt, shutting down any hopes of Parting Shot loops. The German champion was forced into awkward pollen puffs, healing his own Incineroar just to buy time. The Perish count fell again. Turn 4 time for the switch. I recalled Gengar, threw in Dondoso, and Commander activated. The crowd erupted again as Tatsugiri dove in boosts everywhere. Amoonguss tried a pollen puff again, but it wasn't enough. Incineroar, still stuck in Whirlpool, lost its leftovers to the chip. Tatsugiri's Perish count hit 0. My sushi fainted. But it was never about survival. It was about summoning the second half of my strategy. Go! Flamigo. Co-Star activated. 2 Titans stood on my side of the field. Turn 5, this was the moment. He terastallized Amoonguss into a fairy type, trying desperately to patch the matchup. Flamigo answered with Brave Bird, slamming it for 81%. The crowd gasped. That bulky mushroom almost fell in one hit. Dondoso followed with Wave Crash, deleting Incineroar in one blow. The German champ's defenses were crumbling. Turn 6 Garchomp entered. Sneasler returned, his back against the wall. Sneasler tried to buy time and protect, but Flamigo smashed through Garchomp with close combat, while Dondoso threatened Sneasler with Order Up. The arena roared again. The pink bird and the big fish were unstoppable. Turn 7 Sneasler clung to life with its focus sash, but it was too little, too late. Brave Bird sealed it, recoil bouncing off Flamigo's absurd bulk. Dondoso crashed into it with Wave Crash for the final blow. The screen lit up. Dick Doif won the battle. I leaned back, headphones sliding down. I had just taken out a world champion on stream. My heart was racing, my hands shaking, but I couldn't stop smiling. The crowd had started the match whispering, "Maybe the run ends here." Now, they were chanting my name. And deep inside, I thought to myself, this team really can go all the way. Top Cut round 3-2 wins down. The venue was buzzing louder now. Every screen replaying highlights of my Flamigo demolishing a world champion just minutes earlier. But this was no time to relax. My next opponent was Brandifone, a decorated African champion. She was known for chaos teams. Strange picks, unconventional cores, but somehow making them terrifyingly effective. And her team preview proved it. Kingambit, Rillaboom, Arcanine, Basculegion, Pelipper, Electabuzz. Yes, you heard that right. Electabuzz. The crowd laughed when it popped up on screen. But the veterans in the front row didn't. They knew, if someone brings an Electabuzz to Top Cut, it isn't a joke. It's a weapon. I tightened my grip on controller. I couldn't underestimate this. Turn 1, she led Kingambit plus Pelipper into my Gengar plus Tatsugiri. The rain poured down as drizzle set the stage. Immediately, I felt the tension. Pelipper was the enabler, and Kingambit could spiral out of control if left unchecked. I clicked Perish Song with Gengar. The haunting melody spread, locking Kingambit and Pelipper into a ticking clock. Tatsugiri followed with Whirlpool, catching Pelipper in the storm. Brand New Phone smirked. Kingambit used Swords Dance. Pelipper flung a hurricane at Gengar, chipping me hard. The parish countdown began. 3 turns. The audience leaned in. Turn 2, I knew what was coming. Polyper tried to pivot, but Whirlpool trapped it. King Gambit went for kowtow cleave, only for Jengar's focused sash to save it. Tatsujiri's Whirlpool kept spinning, denying escape. The parish clock ticked to 2. The crowd erupted when they realized the King Gambit Polyper core was now locked into doom. Turn 3, I swapped Jengar out, bringing in Dondoso. Commander activated. The stats skyrocketed. Suddenly, the entire rhythm of the game flipped. Brandophone had gone from offense to panic in 2 turns. King Gambit tried to press through with another kowtow cleave, but Dondoso's sheer bulk shrugged it off. Polyper attempted another hurricane, desperate for confusion, but it wasn't enough. Tatsujiri's parish count fell to 1. The sushi's job was nearly done. Turn 4, protect. Always protect. I shielded Dondoso, buying the turn. Tatsujiri dropped, feigning the parish song. The crowd gasped. He's sacrificing his own partner again. But then came the reveal. Flamigo hit the field. Co-Star copied Dondoso's boosts. The pink bird and the big fish, once again, side by side. The double juggernaut. King Gambit and Polyper's parish count hit 0. They fainted. The stadium exploded. Turn 5, Brandophone brought in her rain sweepers. Basculegion plus Rillaboom. The perfect storm of Last Respects and Grassy Glide. This was her win condition. Basculegion lashed out with Last Respects, slamming into Dondoso for huge damage. Rillaboom followed with Grassy Glide. But Flamigo, faster and meaner, launched Brave Bird into Basculegion, deleting it before it could spiral. Dondoso countered with Order Up, tearing chunks off Rillaboom. The board was mine. Turn 6, her last hope came onto the field. Electabuzz. The crowd chuckled, but I didn't. This thing had fake out, disruption, maybe even some surprise coverage. She clicked fake out on Flamigo, it flinched. Rillaboom tried one last Grassy Glide, but Dondoso's Terra Grass shut it down. With leftovers ticking, the fish refused to fall. Turn 7, Flamigo woke up angry. Close combat slammed into Electabuzz, flattening it instantly. The arena roared with laughter and cheers. The underdog Pokemon, eliminated by the pink chicken. Dondoso sealed the game with Wave Crash into Rillaboom, cleaning up the board. The screen flashed. Dicteuif won the battle. I exhaled, heart racing. That was 3 straight Top Cut wins. Each time, Flamigo and Dondoso proved unstoppable. And yet, as I stood up and shook hands, I felt the nerves again. The semi-final loomed. My next opponent wasn't just another champion. It was Insertable, the reigning world champion. And his team was a nightmare for mine. The camera zoomed in. The commentators went quiet for a moment. This, one of them said softly, is where we find out if Dicteuif is just a great story, or if he's really destined to be a champion. Top Cut round for as I walked back on stage. The lights felt hotter than ever. Not because the venue had changed, but because of who was waiting on the other side. Insertable, the reigning world champion. Everyone in the room knew his name. Everyone knew his style. And unfortunately for me, I knew his team sheet. And it looked like it was designed to delete mine. Specs Goldingo? That thing turned my carefully prepared parish core into paper. Rocky Helmet Amoonguss? A direct counter to my Flamigo, Dozo strategy. If I wasn't careful, he could trade his mushroom for both of my win conditions. Even his Basculegion felt like a haunting reminder of my own Last Respects ideas from earlier in the season. The casters hyped it up exactly the way I feared. This matchup is brutal for the Dutch player. He'll need something incredible if he wants to move on. Insertable's team looks like the perfect counter. Inside, I was laughing a little. Of course it had to be this way. If you're going to win nationals, you don't get to dodge the world champion. You have to go through him. Game 1 begins. I send out the metronome and Tatsujiri, my trusty parish setup. He answers with the Nightmare Duo, Specs Goldingo and Polyper in the Rain. Turn 1. I go for the song. Parish song echoes across the stage. But the crowd gasps when it does nothing to Goldingo. Good as gold. His ability blocks it completely. In one move, Insertable shut down the centerpiece of my entire team. And then Specs Fairy Terra Goldingo fires off a dazzling gleam. My Jengar clings on with Focus Sash, but the warning was clear. One wrong turn and I'm cooked. I pivot, sending in not just a broom to eat hits. Tatsujiri slides into its mouth, stats doubling. But Insertable plays perfectly, fishing for confusion with Hurricane and pressure with Dazzling Gleam. Soon my Dondoso is hitting itself, Pelipper cackling in the back. The audience murmurs, I'm on the ropes already. The turning point. Insertable swaps a Mungusin, expecting to sponge my Flamigo switch in. Rocky Helmet. Clear Smog. The ultimate trap. But I read it. Instead of trying to brute force, I buy time with Protects and stall out Tailwind. The confusion breaks. My Flamigo comes in on the one turn I need it to. And then, the floodgates open. Terra Steel Flamigo Brave birds the Amoonguss straight off the field in one go. Dondoso follows with crushing order up into Arcaludon, forcing damage through even the +1 defense boost. The casters shout over each other. He found it. He found the line. He's still in this. From there, it's chaos. Insertable tries to regain control with Swift Swim Basculegion, but even in rain my double Flamigo outpedes and deletes it with close combat. Goldingo falls next turn, and suddenly, the nightmare matchup is mine. Game over. Dick Duif wins. The crowd erupts. The reigning world champion is out, and I'm the one moving on. But as I shake his hand, I know it's not over. The next opponent is waiting, and it's no ordinary trainer. In the semifinals, I'll face someone unlike any other. The king of the Netherlands himself, Willem-Alexander. And for that match, the Parish song is ready to sing again. Semifinals King Game 1 semifinals versus King Willem-Alexander the Dutch national stage was electric, but when the MC announced my next opponent, the atmosphere tilted into something surreal. Ladies and gentlemen, representing the Netherlands, His Majesty, King Willem-Alexander. The crowd exploded. Flags waved, chants rolled through the venue, and for the first time all day, it felt like the entire country had turned against me. My opponent didn't just walk on the stage. He strode like he owned the ground itself. Golden spotlights followed him. Security trailed behind, though they looked more ceremonial than protective. The king raised a hand. The crowd roared louder, and I felt the stage floor buzz beneath my shoes. I had imagined this matchup countless times as a joke. What if I faced a king? But now it was real. And as I locked eyes with him across the stage, it didn't feel funny at all. The commentators whispered, almost reverently, Willem's here to defend the pride of the nation. Can Dick Duif really take him down? We sat, adjusted our headphones, and the timer began. My hand shook slightly on my controller. I had brought Parish mode for this one. I thought trapping the King's team would be the cleanest path. Game 1 leads. Me, Jengar plus Incineroar. Willem, Kingambit plus Basculegion. The crowd gasped as his two powerhouses hit the field. Double dark pressure. Immediate threat. Turn 1, I went for the plan. Jengar used Parish Song. The haunting melody echoed across the stage speakers. The crowd booed, some even chanting, cheap, cheap, like I was dishonoring the throne. Incineroar used Parting Shot, dropping Kingambit stats and pivoting out into Gothitelle, locking his monsters in with Shadow Tag. For a moment, it looked perfect. I had the King's Knights caught in a cage. The commentators even said it. This is the trap, classic Parish setup. But Willem didn't panic. Instead of scrambling, he calmly maneuvered. Whimsicott came in, setting Tailwind. Kingambit used Sword's Dance, shrugging off my Parting Shot. I felt the trap tightening, but not on him, on me. The turns dragged. Jengar fell first, doing its job but leaving me without offensive pressure. Gothitelle took center stage, the Portwater, holding the line with Fake Out and Trick Room. The Parish counts ticked down. 3, 2, 1. But right before the song could claim his pieces, Willem broke free. Kingambit slammed through with Kowtow Cleave, boosted from Defiant after my Intimidate. Gothitelle, my anchor, collapsed. The crowd erupted. The king had escaped the cage. With Shadow Tag gone, his Hydreigon swept in like a dragon from folklore, alongside Goldingo raining down steel. I was outpaced, outgunned, and outcheered. Game 1, Willem Alexander. The arena shook with chants. Long live the king. I leaned back, exhaled. The trap had failed. If I wanted to win, I would have to do it another way. Game 2. The pink bird rises as I sat in my chair, the roar of Long Live the King still pounding in my ears. My pulse felt like it had synced with the crowd's chanting. My perish mode, my comfort zone, had been dismantled before my eyes. And then it hit me, clear as lightning. I can't win this with Perish. 2 ghost types, Goldingo and Basculegion, were immune to the very song my team was built around. Kingambit and Hydreigon, both dark types, laughed in the face of Gothitel's psychic pressure. I had walked straight into a checkmate. But I wasn't out yet. My mind kicked into double speed, every possibility flashing past me like I was running 10 simulations at once. The answer wasn't in the shadows. It was in the light. It was in Flamigo, that ridiculous pink bird, the one people laughed at when they saw it on Team Preview. It was my path to victory. If Perish was my trap, Flamigo was my blade. I locked in. Me, Gengar plus Tatsujiri lead. Willem, Whimsicott plus Hydreigon. The crowd buzzed. They thought I'd run it back. But I wasn't here to sing a dirge. I was here to carve through royalty. Turn 1. Gengar used Perish Song. Not for the trap this time. Just to bait, to stall, to confuse. Tatsujiri used Whirlpool on Hydreigon, cutting off escape. Whimsicott, as expected, set Tailwind. Hydreigon struck with Heat Wave, chunks of damage flying across the field, the crowd roaring with every flare. Turn 2, the real plan clicked in. Gengar retreated, replaced by Dondoso. Tatsujiri dove into its mouth, triggering Commander. The crowd gasped as Dondoso doubled in power before their eyes. But this wasn't just Dozo. It was a countdown to the pink bird. Whimsicott tried Encore, but I stalled with Protect. Hydreigon launched Draco Meteor, but with Commander's boost, Dozo tanked it. Every turn was buying time. And then, the switch. Tatsujiri fainted from the ticking Perish Song, opening the slot. I sent in Flamigo. The crowd erupted. Flamigo's co-star copied every single boost from Dondoso. Suddenly, the board wasn't just scary. It was terrifying. 2 titans stood side by side, one hulking Leviathan, and one pink bird with murder in its eyes. The king's composure flickered. Hydreigon, his dragon, fell to a single brave bird. Dondoso slammed through Whimsicott with Wave Crash. The score was swinging, but Willem wasn't out. He brought in Goldingo and Basculegion. The crowd surged, sensing a comeback. Goldingo terrestrialized in a fairy and unleashed a speck's dazzling gleam that rocked both my titans. Basculegion used Last Respects, its power soaring with every fallen ally. Flamigo reeled, nearly falling. The tension was unbearable. I clenched my controller. Every decision, life or death. Turn 5. Flamigo, at death's door, launched close combat into Goldingo. One clean KO. The Golden Menace fell. Basculegion struck back with Last Respects, and Flamigo finally collapsed, its job done. The board was 2 versus 1. My Dondoso versus his Basculegion. The king's final hope. Turn 6. Basculegion moved first with Last Respects. The crowd held its breath. Dondoso tanked a hit, barely standing. I clicked Order Up. The colossal fish swung down. The crowd gasped. Basculegion fainted. Game 3, Dikkeduif. The arena shook, but this time with disbelief. The king had been forced to a Game 3. I leaned forward, whispering to myself, "This isn't over." The pink bird flies again. Game 3 semifinals. Game 3 versus King Willem Alexander. The stage lights dimmed as we queued up for Game 3. 1 win each. Winner to the finals. Loser out. Everyone thought I'd run Flamigo again. It had carried me through Game 2, and on paper, it was a safer mode. But no, that wasn't me. Not here. Not now. I locked in Perish Trap. The casters gasped. "He's doing it. He's bringing the song against double ghosts and double darks. The crowd roared like they were watching a daredevil walk across a tightrope. If I fell, it would be brutal. But if I succeeded, it would be unforgettable. Turn 1. I sent out Don Doso plus Gothitelle. Willem led with Kingambit plus Basculegion. Gothitelle terrestrialized a steal and faked out Kingambit, while Dozo yawned it. Basculegion flip-turned, but it didn't matter. The trap was in place. The Kingambit fell asleep. The tempo slowed, and I switched in Jengar. Turn 4, the song begins Perish Song. The haunting melody filled the stadium. The counters ticked, 3, 3, 3. But here's the thing. Perish Song is fragile. One broken protect chain, one fainted Gothitelle, one free switch, and the whole plan crumbles. Everyone in the audience knew that. Willem knew that. That's when I activated shadow mapping. Instead of thinking, what are all the moves he might make? I thought, what are the moves he can't afford not to make? Tailwind from Whimsicott. Protect from Kingambit. Aggression from Hydreigon when it swaps in. I didn't just predict, I erased his escape routes before he could take them. Whimsicott set Tailwind. Kingambit tried to stall with Protect. Hydreigon entered, only to eat a fake-out plush on sequence that forced it into sleep. Every path he could have taken, every option to break the trap, I sealed off one turn ahead. The countdown kept ticking. The decisive moment Perish counters at 1. Willem leaned forward, fingers tight on his controller. He thought he had an opening, Basculegion swinging last respects, Hydreigon with Heat Wave. But shadow mapping meant I was already there, already waiting. Protect on Dozo. Fake out on Hydreigon. Curse Body disabling last respects. The crowd erupted. He's done it. Shadow mapping. He knew every out and sealed them all. The bell tolled. Whimsicott fainted. Kingambit fainted. And just like that, the throne cracked. Endgame Basculegion, and Hydreigon stood alone. Tailwind was gone. Hydreigon fell asleep again to yawn. Incineroar came in, dropped their stats, and knocked off their safety nets. With Trick Room flipped on its head and the King's pieces collapsing, the end was inevitable. Hydreigon fainted to a final psychic plus knockoff. The crowd went insane. I had done it, not with brute force, not even with Flamigo's raw power, but with shadow mapping. I didn't just trap his Pokemon. I trapped his decisions, his future, his throne. The casters shouted, "He's in the finals. He's taken down the King of the Netherlands with Perish Song." I leaned back, heart racing. I had played the game my way. And now, one last curtain remained, the finals. Finals echo backstory. The crowd was still buzzing from the last knockout. The King of the Netherlands himself had fallen, and with it, the weight of the moment pressed down on the entire arena. Cameras panned across the audience. Jaws dropped, flags waving, chants echoing through the stadium. The commentators could barely keep up. He's done it. He's actually beaten the King. What a run, what a story, what a player. But in the back of my mind, I already knew this wasn't the end of the road. The truth was, Willem Alexander wasn't my true final boss. His crown was heavy, but the rivalry that had shaped me weighed even more, because waiting for me across the stage was Echo, and this wasn't just another match. This was a collision of years. People see us as rivals now, but it didn't start that way. It began with late nights on Pokemon Showdown, where I was just another Dutch kid with too many wild ideas, and Echo was the one who always said, "Try it anyway." We tested everything together, Perish Trap in formats where it didn't belong, gimmicks no sane player would touch, and somehow, through trial and error, we carved out an identity. At first, Echo was my training partner, my sparring buddy, but as I started to grow, so did they. We pushed each other, sharpened each other. Every time I thought I'd caught up, Echo was already one step ahead. That's how it turned into rivalry, respect laced with fire. And now, here we were. 3-time world champion Echo, the legend. Me, the reigning Dutch champion, chasing not just a title, but a legacy. The crowd didn't know this was more than a finals. They didn't know this was personal. As the cameras cut back to me leaving the stage, the thought ran through my head. Beating the king gave me the crown of the Netherlands. But to claim my destiny, to prove everything I built, I would have to beat Echo. And if I failed, then maybe all of this, the Parish Trap, the Flamingo Mode, the hours of practice, maybe it was just a chapter. But I wasn't here for chapters. I was here to write the ending. Game 1 finals. Game 1 open. You lead Metronome plus the little sushi roll. Echo opens Porygon 2 plus Smeargle. Drizzle lurks in the wings. Politoed ready to make everything slippery. You don't blink. Turn 1, the first bell. You sing. Parish song ripples through the hall, like a struck wine glass. Smeargle tries to pull the plug with Spore, and Metronome slumps, fast asleep, but Tatsu snaps a taunt onto the painter. The crowd sees it. You've started a clock and padlocked the sleep button. The desk goes quiet. Then one caster finds their voice. He's not aiming for damage. He's sculpting the end game. Turn 2. The door closes. Echo pivots. Smeargle out. Porygon 2 in. The Rain Frog, Politoed, takes the second slot to threaten raw numbers. You don't chase. Tatsu threads a whirlpool onto the inevitable switch target. Arcaludon as it comes in. The Vortex grabs metal. Stamina procs. The audience hears in the tone of the commentators. Trap set. Count ticking. Turn 3. The shape appears. Metronome yields the stage. Not just a broom splashes in commander flares. Stats doubling like a power grid coming online. Echo answers with Terra Ground Porygon 2 and a charged electro shot from Arcaludon. Big damage lands. Rain hisses. Leftovers tick. But the important part isn't HP, it's position. You build a board that cannot be pivoted. Trapped Arcaludon, committed P2, and a loaded Dozo with a countdown running in your favor. And that's when the casters start fumbling for a phrase. It's that thing he does. He sees 3 turns out and walks aboard to it. Turn 4, the promise of patience. You protect with Dozo. Arcaludon charges again. P2 holds. The Vortex chews metal, and bloop, Tatsujiri's Parish count hits 0. The sushi vanishes on schedule. Turn 5, the second hammer falls. The arena erupts as Flamingo dives in, and Co-Star mirrors Dozo's double stats. 2 monsters, same numbers. You Terra Steel on Flamingo to snub polymorph threats, and close combat deletes Arcaludon from the screen. Dozo's order up dumps Politoed for half, and stacks another attack. The desk shouts over itself. That's not a sweep, that's a board state being cashed in. Turn 6, Echo reaches for time. Smeargle returns, Politoed stays. You brave bird into Porygon 2, huge chunk. Smeargle sneaks a Spore onto Flamingo this time. Dozo sends Wave Crash into Smeargle and leaves it dangling on Sash. Recoil bites, leftover soothe. Echo's thinking Trick Room. Turn 7, stalling the furnace. You double protect. Dozo shields, Flamingo sleeps. Smeargle whiffs a Spore into the shield. Porygon 2 Trick Rooms. The hall groans. This'll get messy. But notice, the painter is at 1 HP. The frog is worn, and you're the one dictating who actually gets to act into whom. Turn 8, remove the wrench. Smeargle tries a fake out that can't legally work. Porygon 2 recovers, and Dozo simply Wave Crash finishes Smeargle. No more powder, no more redirection. It's just math now. Turn 9, the scare. Politoed returns with Drizzle. You protect Dozo. Flamingo is still sleeping. Earth Power chunks the bird to the brink. Terra Blast chips what's left. Flamingo drops. The crowd gasps. Echo senses a crack. You send Metronome back to the stage on a sliver and a prayer. Turn 10, the knife edge. Earth Power slams Gengar. Sash pops, 1 HP. P2's Terra Blast finishes a ghost. But your board state was never about Gengar now. It's about Dozo's line. Wave Crash carves Porygon 2 to a pixel and knocks it over. 2-on-1 becomes 1-on-1. Rain still falls. Turn 11, patience again. You protect. Politoed Earth powers into the shield. Leftovers blink. The desk whispers. He's buying 1 tick of leftovers to turn a 2 HKO into a 3 HKO. Turn 12, cash out. Dozo order up. Politoed focuses. Too late. The frog drops. The room explodes. You don't fist pump. You exhale, because that thing just worked in full view of a nation. What the audience felt, you didn't win exchanges. You steered toward a board the opponent literally couldn't exit. Parrish Song, Whirlpool Trap, Commander, Safety, Co-Star, Mirror, Protect, Tempo, Cleanup, with Order Up. Every turn looked small. Together they were inevitable. On the desk, they try labels, flowcharting, endgame sculpting, board walking, and none of them stick. Echo looks over from a station, shakes his head, and smiles like only a rival who's seen this before can. He's doing it again. We won't reveal the name here. Not yet. Keep the secret for Game 3. Let it marinate. For now. The only thing the crowd knows is that you just took Game 1 with something that felt less like reacting and more like writing the ending in ink. Game 2. Revealed finals. Game 2 openings you sent out, Gothitelle, the Pourtoitre, beside Dondoso, not just a broom. Across the field, Smeargle and Porygon 2. On open team sheets, you've already circled the problems. Moody plus Fake Out, Follow Me, Spore Decorate, and Trick Room Recover, Terra Ground, Terra Blast. You feel the map lay itself over the field. Postcard A is a classic. Parrish Song ticking on 2 Trap Mons under Shadow Tag. Protect on count 1. Faint last, shake hands. Turn 1. The door that wasn't there you go for the clean start. Fake Out into Smeargle, yawn into Porygon 2 to force either Protect or Switch next turn. Echo's eyes flicker. Smeargle terastallizes into Ghost on the spot. Your Fake Out whiffs. Smeargle shrugs. Follow Me's a yawn. And Porygon 2 sets Trick Room uncontested. The crowd murmurs. You feel it too. Your map assumed Smeargle could be pinned for a turn. Terra Ghost just removed the hinge. But the map isn't dead. Yawn is on Smeargle, and if it stays, it sleeps. If it switches, it dodges Yawn, but because Ghost ignores Shadow Tag, it can leave whenever. The postcard's edges curl. Turn 2. Echo pours Concrete Echo, switches the drowsy Smeargle straight out for Ursaluna. You go Protect with Dondoso to burn a Trick Room turn. Gothitelle threatens Fake Out next turn or Trick Room flip later. Flame, Orb ignites. Guts Online. Porygon 2's download picked Spa earlier. It doesn't matter. TR's the real engine. Turn 3. Redrawing the map, you bring in Gengar for Dondoso to layer the count while Gothitelle holds the door. Echo reads it, and instantly Terra ghosts the Ursaluna. That turns off Fake Out and worse. Turns off Shadow Tag on the most dangerous mon in the room. Still, you slam Parrish Song. The arena hears it. Ursaluna, Porygon 2, Gothitelle, Gengar, everyone on a 3-turn clock. You Protect with Gothitelle to preserve Citrus for the endgame. Echo takes the hit. Headlong rush into your Protect. Recover on Porygon 2 to top off. Parrish counts. 3-2. Your map says, trap both, force Protect on 1, double Protect on 0. It's still possible. You just need to relock Ursaluna. On the field. Turn 4. The squeeze, you pivot back to Dondoso to reset positioning. Commander in back means Flamigo is a threat in Game 3. In this game, it's only a bluff. Gothitelle fakes out P2 to deny recover. Echo protects Ursaluna to preserve HP and keeps switching rights next turn. Flame, Orb ticks, counts tick. Parrish. 2-1. Turn 5. The almost postcard, this is a turn. If both stay, your next turn is double Protect and they both faint. You yawn the Ursaluna. If it tries to stay, it sleeps through the post. If it switches, at least it isn't hitting. Gothitelle goes Protect to guarantee it survives to the finish line. Echo nods like he's seen the same postcard you have. He switches Terra Ghost Ursaluna out, the unlocked door, and brings Smeargle back in. Porygon 2, unflinching, recovers. Your yawn lands on the Smeargle slot. Fine, that's still pressure. But Smeargle is Ghost and can leave again. Parrish. 1-0 next turn. You look down the tunnel. 1 double Protect, and you steal it. The crowd senses it. The room tightens like a hell breath. Turn 6. The checkmate that slipped you input Protect plus Protect. Dondoso and Gothitelle. The plan is textbook. Survive the turn. Collect 2 KOs to the song. Reset into 2v2 with Gengar plus Incineroar against a wounded back. It's the exact endgame cartography line you live for. Echo doesn't blink. He switches both. Smeargle Ursaluna, Porygon 2 Politoed. Because Smeargle and Ursaluna are ghosts, Shadow Tag never touched them. Your protects are perfect into nothing. Perish at 0, but there is no one left to hear it. 2 clean swaps. 2 empty chairs at the execution. The audience gasps, not at a crit, not a high roll, but at a ghosted postcard. Your map was right. The world changed around it. Turn 7. The punishment now Trick Room still stands, and a guts-boosted ghost Ursaluna reappears in the rain. You try to stabilize. Incineroar comes in to threaten parting shot. Knock off into Citra's ranges. Anything to buy a parish reset. But Ghost Ursaluna ignores Fake Out, ignores Tag, and does ignore anything you put in front of it. Facade blasts through the Portwater. Weather Ball from Polito chips your ensign. You manage to get Jengar in and sing again, buying 2 counts. But Echo has already mapped this branch. He pivots Polito Porygon 2 and keeps Ursaluna mobile. On the last critical beat, a Terra Blast from P2 finds Dondoso's mark as Ursaluna repositions. Your Protect catches 1, not both. The count expires. No one is trapped when it matters. Final turns you played out. Of course you do. A cheeky Cursed Body disables Earth Power for a beat. Knockoff strips an item. Yon forces a Protect. The crowd roars every time your map draws a new line. But when the dust settles, Ursaluna plus Porygon 2 stand battered and upright. Your side doesn't. Silence for half a second. Then a wave of applause rolls over the stage, the respectful kind, because everyone just watched 2 players navigate a minefield in slow motion. You set your controller down, staring at the last board state like it's a riddle that changed its answer after you solved it. How did I lose that game? You whisper to yourself, not angry, puzzled. Endgame cartography has never failed me. I saw the checkmate, and it didn't happen. What happened? Echo, across the table, meets your eyes. He taps his Terra button once, Ghost. A tiny, apologetic smile. I found a door your map couldn't lock. You inhale long and even. The canal is still there. The city just revealed a new alley. Game 3 is loading. Time to redraw the map, and this time, close every door. I've never said this out loud during a set, but endgame cartography has never failed me. Not once. I draw the postcards, trace the dotted lines, and the game walks there like it's on rails. That's why this feels unreal. I saw the checkmate. Count at 1, double Protect, 2 KOs to the song, shake hands. And yet the moment arrived and the room tilted. Ghost doors opened, the board slid, and my perfect picture didn't exist anymore. It's not anger. It's dissonance. The map was right. I just learned there are alleys my map never drew. So I'm going to redraw it now. Fewer assumptions. No unlocked doors. Game 3 finale finals. Game 3. Back to the bell. Back to the song to walk back. The stage feels different after a loss. The lights aren't warm. They're interrogations. Echo's already there, calm, practiced, like he's been here 3 times before. I'm still hearing my own line from the last segment looping. Edge mapping has never failed me. So why did that game slip? Answer. Because the picture I saw wasn't game 2. It was bigger. I lock the Pokeball and make a choice that will either make me a genius or meme. I go back to Parish. If I'm going to win, I'm going to win with my signature, on my terms. Leads. Me. Jengar plus Incineroar Gothitelle plus Dondoso in the back. Echo. Smeargle plus Porygon 2 the crowd knows a dance. Smeargle threatens Spore Follow Me. Porygon 2 threatens Trick Room. If I lead Goth here and miss one of those buttons, the game snowballs. So I split the difference. Turn 1. Jengar taunt. Incineroar Fake Out. Smeargle opens its mouth. No sound. Taunted. Porygon 2 blinks as the flinch lands. 2 threats muted in one breath. The table shakes. Dutch fans on their feet. Turn 2 Echo makes the exact adjustment you'd expect from a champion. He yanks Smeargle, brings in Ursaluna to punish any Parish window, and angles Porygon 2 toward Trick Room again. Jengar Parish song. The hall goes quiet. 3 invisible ticks appear over everything that heard it. Incineroar parting shot, and I pivot straight into Gothitelle. Shadow Tag snaps shut. Now we're in the shape. Ursaluna plus Porygon 2 versus Gengar plus Gothitelle with counts ticking, damage muted, and no switching. This is the silhouette I thought I saw last game. Turn 3 of Trick Room goes up. Ursaluna gets to bulldoze my endgame. If Ursaluna Terra goes, it can escape the trap later, but he still needs TR to matter. Gengar taunt. Gothitelle protect. Echo pauses long enough to taste the pressure, then clicks the obvious. Porygon 2 tries Trick Room, blocked. Ursaluna swings Facade into a guarding steel door as Gothitelle Terra Steel on my end-of-turn reveal. It lives clean. The crowd loved that animation. I love that we're still on script. Perish counts drop to 2. Turn 4 this is where most Perish pilots panic and double protect. I don't. I reset one side and keep the door shut with the other. Gengar Hard switch to Dondoso. Gothitelle Psychic Chip on Porygon 2. Echo bites. Ursaluna Terra goes to avoid getting pinned to 0 next turn and switches out, but because he spent the Terra to become Ghost this turn, he can't leave yet. Porygon 2, still taunted, throws a sad Ice Beam. Dozo shrugs it off, leftovers ticking. Perish counts drop to 1 on Porygon 2 and my Gothitelle. Dozo and the new Ghost Bear have fresh clocks. Turn 5 every. Eye in the Room is on Goth. If Portwater exits, Shadow Tag drops and Porygon 2 flees. If she stays, we trade her for their engine. I keep the door locked. Dondoso protect. Gothitelle protect. Echo can't switch Porygon 2. Ursaluna throws headlong rush into Dondoso's guard. Numbers flash harmlessly. End of turn, the bell tolls. Porygon 2 faints at 0. Gothitelle faints at 0. The last thing she does is make sure the exit stays closed. Portwater, doing Portwater things. We come out of the smoke 3. 2 up with Dozo plus Incineroar versus Ursaluna Ghost plus and Gengar waiting. Turn 6 Echo replaces Porygon 2 with Politoed to blast through my bulky core. He wants rain-boosted Weather Ball Muddy Water to undo everything. I show him the line I was really aiming at the whole time. Incineroar fake out. Dondoso yawn. The Hall catches it a beat later. Tag is gone, but sleep is coming, and Polito doesn't carry protect. If it stays, it naps. If it switches, Ursaluna Ghost has to face Dozo alone for a turn and then come back into another Perish later. It's a fork and both prongs hurt. Polito flinches, Flame Orb ticks, and suddenly the rain plan is. Wet Cardboard. Turn 7 Echo refuses to fold. He swings with Ursaluna into Dozo Grass Terra. Polito gets drowsy, and I make the next layer clear. Incineroar parting shot to blunt Guts damage further. I pivot back to Gengar on that slot, spot number 4, focus Sash pristine. Turn 8 Polito falls asleep. Ursaluna's at -1 and committed to Ghost Terra. The board is Gengar plus Dondoso into Ursaluna Ghost plus sleeping Polito. This is the image that's been living in my head all day. Not game 2. This, I don't even need to get fancy. Gengar Perish song. Dozo protect. The second countdown begins with one target asleep and the other stuck swinging into armor. Echo knows exactly what this means. He invented half of these counterplays. There's no route that clears both Perish timers without giving up a KO and losing the race. He takes his time anyway, a champion to the end. Turn 9, 10. Gengar taunt to stop any emergency encore. Follow me if Smeargle comes back later. Dozo order up for safe chip through the stall. Leftovers continuously erasing the math. Incineroar returns on the final count. 1 turn protect and let the bell ring. At 0, Ursaluna drops. Polito drops a beat later. The stage lights flare. The headsets come off. I don't jump, I exhale. Because here's the truth I've been circling since the loss. Edge mapping didn't fail me in game 2. I misread the canvas. The guaranteed end state I kept trying to force wasn't that game's picture. It was the entire brackets. I didn't just map a turn, I mapped a tournament. And when we finally reached that board, the one I wrote in my notebook weeks ago, it played itself. Echo meets me at center stage. That half smile only rivals give each other. You found it, he says. I nod. Post-game notes. Leg construction let me answer 2 anti-Parish outs at once before revealing Shadow Tag. Early taunt on P2 plus late tag forced Ursaluna to spend Terra Ghost just a breathe, which was the invitation to spring the yawn net on Politoed. Got to tell Terra Steel plus Hero Hold to count 1 formalize the first Parish checkmate. Jengar's second song closed the door. The cool play wasn't a flashy double KO. It was a sequence. Taunt parting shot pivot to tag Terra Steel. Hold reset 1 Singer Yawn net resing. A Wolf style 2-layer no exit triangle. I shake Echo's hand a second time and say it out loud for the cameras. And for myself, I didn't just win with Parish. I won with Parish on rails. And somewhere in my notes, circled in red, is a name I'm keeping for this forever: edge mapping. Seeing the board state that wins you the set, and walking the game to it, no matter how loud the crowd gets. Aftermath the ending, when the count hits 0, the last red 0 fades on the overlay. For half a heartbeat, the venue is silent, like the room itself is holding protect. Then Amsterdam erupts. Confetti cannons. Brass band somewhere in the upper deck, playing a slightly off-tempo Pokemon Center theme. You stand up so slowly it looks intentional, like you planned the timing too. Across the stage, Echo smiles, removes the headset, and we meet at center for the handshake that says everything. Rivals in public, friends in the lab. The trophy's heavier than it looks. Thick glass that catches the lights and throws tiny rainbows onto your hoodie. An official asks for a photo with the Dutch champion. Behind him, a familiar figure in a suit gives a small, amused nod. The crowd starts a chant that's half your name, half drumline. You don't speak yet. You listen, because tonight, even the roar feels like a metronome. On the desk, 6 Pokeballs sit in a neat row like instruments in a case. The metronome tips a phantom hat. Still the fastest singer in Regulation H. Still the problem silencer. The poor twatter clicks the last deadbolt and folds its gloves. Door closed, crowd released. Not just a broom settles like a tide at slack water. Yon engine cooled, order up finished. Your favorite little sushi roll leaves one last whirlpool ripple on the stage screen and vanishes into the credits. Flamigo preens under the lights. Co-star reflected confetti looks like medals on its chest. The locksmith twirls a key around a claw and pockets it with a wink. The interviewer appears, mic first. How did you win that finals? You laugh, part relief, part mischief, preparation, and a little music. You explain just enough to be satisfying and not enough to ruin the magic. In quarters, shadow mapping let you draw pressure lines in your head, where taunt lands, where a switch can't happen, how to shepherd an opponent into their own checkmate. In semis, you made the arena smaller, yon plus tag plus timing, until even a Crown King had to play your 3-turn puzzle. And in the finals, you reveal conductor's proof, finding the guaranteed end boards before turn 1 and bending every tiny choice toward them, sometimes through Commander and Co-Star, sometimes through the slow physics of Parish Song, sometimes by doing nothing when nothing is the strongest play on the board. In Game 2, the interviewer asks, you said afterward your technique has never failed you. What happened? You glance at Echo and we both grin. It didn't fail, you say. I just saw too far. I wasn't looking at Game 2. I was looking at the end of the tournament. The path was right. The timing was off. So I walked it again. The room loves that, because it's true. You didn't panic. You recommitted. Same patience. Same count. Same trust in the pieces you built from scratch. A taunt that matters. A yawn that anchors. A flamigo that heals. A sushi roll that traps. A cat that buys turns. And a ghost that sings police tape around an exit sign. We do our rivals bow, half theatrical, half inside joke. Shout out to Echo. You add into Mike, my favorite enemy and my better friend. Couldn't have shaped this without you. I take the mic for a second. Proud of you, I say in the crowd. Aw, it's like they just saw a crit go your way. The walk-off backstage smells like confetti and HDMI cables. Your phone is exploding, DMs from friends. A text that just says Lecker with 8 R's. And a photo of your grandparents' living room where the whole family watched the stream with strip waffles stacked like Poke Puffs. You sit on a road case. You finally exhale. We debrief the way we always do. One lesson per Pokemon. Gengar. Parrish is installing. It's sculpting time. Gothitelle. Control is louder when it's invisible. Dondoso. Bulk is a resource. Spend it only where it buys turns. Tatsujiri. Utility makes damage possible. Trap first, flex later. Flamigo. If you copy the right stats, you don't need flashy terrace. You need staying power. Incineroar. A good fake-out is a kindness to your future self. We laugh about the little moments. The Rocky Helmet betrayal. The tailwind that blew at the worst possible time. The one encore that whiffed like a blessing. You hold the trophy and rotate it. It throws a little rainbow onto the ceiling. It looks like a tiny aurora veil, honestly. The last note before we leave, you set the trophy down and record the final line for the video, wolf style, but yours. This wasn't luck. It was lanes. It was maps. It was proof. And it was 6 teammates who don't just fight, they fit. Thanks for listening to our song. The count hits 0 tonight, but tomorrow, we start again at 3. We turn out the light in the practice room. Somewhere in the empty hall, a maintenance cart squeaks 1212, and the city outside hums in key. Amsterdam at night feels like a metronome. 2. As we hit the exit, you nudge me. Next project? I grin. New triangle. New puzzles. Same friends. And the door swings shut behind to port water one last time.